While violence is nothing new in modern society, it is becoming an increasing problem in all corners of the world. By looking at the escalating rate of youth homicides, it is hard to ignore this dangerous trend and violence occurring worldwide.
However, quoting the Killer G's research group's words, people don't naturally kill. They learn it from violence in the home, and most pervasively, from violence as entertainment in television, movies, and interactive video games.
This is not to say that violence on the screen is the sole cause of violence in the streets, but to say that the media does reinforce the beliefs, myths, and attitudes of a violent culture. It is a messenger for violence as a way of life. Media has rooted in the social life, news, entertainment, and advertising.
While the causes of youth violence are factors such as poverty, family psychopathology, child abuse, and other psychiatric disorders, media violence does play a part in the construction of violent behavior in today's youth.
Cartoons and children's programs are some of the very first forms of media we were all introduced to as children. Most kids are familiar with shows such as SpongeBob SquarePants, Looney Tunes, the Powerpuff Girls, Scooby-Doo, some of the best shows of all time. However, these shows dedicated to viewers 12 and under continue to be made in some of the most violent formats. Over the past few decades, there has even been an increase in graphical violence in the content of these cartoons. Does all this exposure of violence in cartoons really lead to aggressive behavior at an early age? A psychological research in 1982 by the National Institute of Mental Health has shown 3 major effects of children watching these shows. Children of both genders may become less sensitive to the pain and suffering of others. They may be more fearful to the world around them, and they are most likely to behave aggressively to others as well. This article from Pediatrics, under the official Journal of American Academy of Pediatrics, claimed that children younger than the age of 8 cannot tell the difference between what's reality and what's fantasy, which can eventually skew their learning process.
How many times have you been stunned by what comes out of your child's mouth or by the way they act, only to figure out later the behavior was influenced by a cartoon? Yeah, like it or not, children soak up what they see on TV.
They'll use the word stupid, and they'll say, you know, you're stupid, and the next thing you know, one brother's calling the other brother stupid, and I'm not okay with that.
And it goes beyond the language.
But I noticed later on that day and that following week that they started throwing fits, exactly like the cartoon character had been doing.
It's becoming more of a concern for parents because not only are their children adopting the physical violence, they're also adopting the verbal violence as well. Children learn by observing, imitating, and adopting behaviors and characters from this media. Due to the lack of experience to evaluate what they watch, children simply accept the idea of violent behavior they see as real and normal. Most children see superheroes and other characters solve problems using violence, usually as a first resort, and then get rewarded for doing so. Here is a Wall Street Journal article with a headline that declares, "Kids are glued to a violent Japanese show. Dragon Ball Z is bringing impalement, strangulation to the after-school crowd." This article talks about violence in this series and what draws both kids and even adults to watch it. They boast, quote, "The show's ratings among 6 to 11-year-olds, which is the demographic group most coveted by children's advertisers, lapped 95% in the 4th quarter through November, after its first release in the USA. They added, the network plans to boost its programming time devoted to Japanese animation to 3 hours from 2, adding 2 new shows next year," unquote. These companies are actually willing to cast aside all the tragic consequences of these shows on children's psychologies just for the means of profit and advertising. The website Medical Daily claims that children's cartoons contain 2.5 times more death than an actual adult horror movie. From Snow White to Frozen. It is no wonder by the time that an average child leaves elementary school, he or she would have witnessed 8,000 murders and over 100,000 other acts of violence.
No, I only coughed, I swear!
A statistical study by the Media Education Foundation has actually discovered that the level of violence during a Saturday morning cartoon is so much higher than the level of violence during prime time. 3 to 5 violent acts per hour in prime time versus 20 to 25 acts per hour in a Saturday morning cartoon. Just imagine children between the ages of 2 and 11 already watch an astonishing average of 109 hours and 6 minutes of television a month. It has been a popular claim that cartoon violence, one of the earliest forms of violence exposed to children, has led to aggressive behavior in society. Despite the popular belief and the numerous research that violent cartoons lead to aggressive behavior, there is still no scientific analysis or proof that it is such. This form of media may have some effect on children, but these effects vary tremendously, depending on the personality, the intelligence, the background, or even the life experience of the child. With proper guidance, this aggressive behavior may not necessarily ascend to the child's teenage years. Although nothing can be done about what kids are exposed to on television, the best parents can do is explain to their children the unrealistic and irrational essence of violence.
No, shit! Violence. News of violence have risen one after another over the past year. This can be seen all around the world. Many questions are geared to this issue. Is media displaying violence causes crime? Does it actually affect teenagers? On the other hand, some people say that violent media helps to intermediate teenagers' anger, helping them to release their negative thought or feeling that have no way out. Is it really good for teenagers? Is this their only means to a solution? They are not only being exposed to a scenario the way you are or television or movie, but they are the active player in it. They actively drive that narrative, make decisions and choices and moves that can change the direction of the future. It is an essentially virtual reality that you are immersed in that game with a set of conditions that is set by the gameplay. When teenagers are in a game, they are approaching the world with weapons and violence, and the job is to kill everyone in order to survive. They will only get better or improve at that eventually. Over time, these gamers take bleeding or violence easily, and some might even try to practice the skills in real life, which may lead to crimes. For example, one can actually use the strategies and shooting skills learned to rob a bank. Grand Theft Auto 5, the latest in a line of controversial games that have been often brought out in relation to various crimes. A man had been attacked and robbed of the game, his watch and phone, although the headlines only concentrated on the game itself. Besides that, people are also driven by these games to commit violent crimes. Music too, as another form of media, has a possibility of chance that could provoke violence in teenagers. Music containing violence lyrics, aggressive behavior, and degrading behaviors towards women did make an individual react more violently with regards to responses to questions about fictitious scenarios from the experience.
4 minutes of horror, 4 killed, 2 dozen injured in Taipei subway's first mass stabbing. The 21-year-old attacker, Zheng Jie, university student, randomly stabbed passengers on the subway train on Wednesday afternoon. A fan of violent video games, he enacted a brutal scene in real life inside a crowded train on the MRT's Banqiao line.
From the previous news that I've shown, it shows there's some link between violent video game and aggressive behavior that leads to crime. On average, adolescents who were not exposed to violent video are not as prone to violent behavior. There is a risk that some teenagers couldn't differentiate between fantasy and real world. Some might have difficulty understanding the people they harm have real lives and real families. A book has two sides. Some people do not agree that violent video games have caused teenagers to act violently. In fact, they think that it actually helps teenagers in releasing their negative emotion. Some of the teenagers who have a lack of confidence will feel much more stronger when they win the battle in the game. Apart from that, they can release their anger or forget problems as well as loneliness through assaulting or killing enemy monsters in the game world. Fear, greed, power, hunger, rage. These are aspects of ourselves that we try not to experience in our lives but often want, even need, to experience vicariously through stories of others. Children need violent entertainment in order to explore the inexcusable feelings that they have been taught to deny and to reintegrate those feelings into a more whole, more complex, more resilient selfhood. However, exposure to violent imagery does not preordain violence, but it is a risk factor. We would never say, I've smoked cigarettes for a long time and I don't have lung cancer. Therefore, there's no link between smoking cigarettes and lung cancer. So why use such flawed reasoning when it comes to media violence? It is quite obvious that people who are listening to violent music or watching violent video show significant relationship with the way they act in daily life. Whether it is the lyrics, the beats, or watching the entertainer act violently, people in general who are viewing these music videos are behaving in an inappropriate way, which may lead to crime in long term. Violence displayed by the media has no direct control over our actions. It can only encourage us to go down the dark paths if we ourselves intended to do so. Each of us has our own willpower, and if we could have control over our actions, then nothing, I repeat, nothing can come in our way to divert us onto a different pathway, not even the most extreme movie, song, or idea. Dr. Anderson once said, one major conclusion from this and other research on violent entertainment media is that content matters. So, choose your game wisely. Even if you are playing these kind of tough games, you should always remember to differentiate the fake from the reality.
Here are some stereotypes of men and women. Handsome, tall, muscular, plays basketball, soccer, and rugby. All women do is make up, wash the clothes, make up, clean the house, make up, and of course cook food for us men who'll be hungry if they don't cook for us, and did I mention makeup? So these are some stereotypes from the internet, and they're not very nice, as you can see, because they mainly revolve around olden age stuff. As stated in the article on the website, in the media, women and girls are more likely than not to be portrayed as housewives, objects that are merely used for the sexual needs of men, as defenseless beings against violence and crime. However, men and boys are stereotyped to be strong, independent, competitive, violent, aggressive, and emotionally detached. But it's just one article. Another article from another website, as seen in the picture, talks about the CSI trilogy from November 2009. The cover poster depicts the 3D characters standing over the girl's body. The Society pages describes it as simply a prop for the lead characters in this article. This trilogy was released by Entertainment Weekly, an online magazine who ironically released an article in 2005 criticizing violence in these women in crime procedural shows such as CSI and Law and Order. Here's another article. It's on a movie named Dead Girl, a not safe for work movie. The gist of this movie is European defenseless girls, but the media response to it is disgusting. Audacious, uncertainly sexual, pretty much fucking brilliant. Very few of the reviews actually face reality. The movie should have been titled Great Movie instead of Dead Girl for its content. This article speaks about the various stereotypes in the media, specifically gender roles and stereotypical commercials. Various female commercials depict women obsessing over steam irons, overly sexy with women holding bottles of fragrances, and ultra thin, underclothed women. Male commercials, on the other hand, focus on the machismo of the man, the dominating side of the man, the patriarchal side of the man, and the brotherly side of the man. When both genders appear in a commercial together, they are usually in a relationship of some sexual sorts. However, the commercials directed towards children often depict the most stereotypical scenarios, like girls with dolls and boys with Legos. It is very rare to see boys playing with dolls or girls playing with Legos in such commercials. This article faces the realities of the current world. The goals of the teenagers have changed from the need for success in the working world to the need for sex. The teachers of sexual education have also changed from parents to pornography websites. As such media is so easily accessible, they are exposed to sexual elements early in their childhood, and so denial of such may result in unwanted circumstances. Because of such circumstances, the rate of teen pregnancies has increased. Nicki Minaj's videos often depict sexy women. Her music video Anaconda shows the dominance of men over women. Pills and Potions shows a man smoking a sexy pose and a man controlling his woman. Super Bass says that cars are a man thing, shows the well-toned body of a male, women are the ones to seduce a man, and the lyrics clearly states the must-haves of a potential boyfriend. Pound the Alarm shows boys playing football, says girls have to be sexy, and the lyrics tell girls to get the guys in a sexy way. Vavavoom tells us that the girls have to play hard to get the guys. Girls have to cook and be sexy at the same time, and men dominate women. Eminem's videos often depict power. His music video No Love tells us that the strong ones survive, that women get bullied, that the only way to resolve matters is by fighting, and the lyrics tell us to get back up and keep fighting, which many teenagers misinterpret as fight more. Love the Way You Lie tells us that men are dominant again, that men can do whatever they want to get their girl back, and the lyrics tell us that love is supposed to feel exactly like lust. Beautiful shows us that men don't need to have friends and can survive by being alone, and the lyrics tell us the same thing. All in all, media violence is bad, but it's not always bad because, as you can see, there are many people that have been exposed to such kinds of violence, and they have not done anything bad or committed crimes, so it's not as bad as you think.
Whether violent media is to be banned has been a highly debated topic for years. We will never totally eradicate violence from our lives or from the media.
Although nothing much can be done about what children are exposed to from the media, the best parents can do is explain the consequences of violent behavior to their children and how unrealistic and irrational it is to solve problems with violence.
Most children are ignorant to the fact that verbal violence is almost as cruel, if not more, as physical violence, and therefore the parents should teach them to use their words responsibly.
Parents should also check their show ratings and find out more about the content of these shows before letting their children watch them. Teaching their children about the correct values of men and women are also an important aspect of education of their children.
As adolescents grow into full-fledged teenagers, parents should also begin to explain the violent features of advertising, television, video games, and etc. However, parents are not the only ones that have roles in this matter. Necessary censorship of media by the government also plays a major part in the prevention of juvenile violence.
Furthermore, there should be disclaimers in each social media to evaluate the level of violence portrayed in it. Therefore, it is time to understand the media can no longer be the scapegoat for all the bad decisions society has made, and bring it upon ourselves to accept the responsibility for what each of us can do as individuals, as parents, as citizens in today's media society.